So let's first talk about this hidden actions, and we're going to use this concept called moral hazard. So what moral hazard is, it's going to be the tendency of a person who is imperfectly monitored to kind of engage in some kind of undesirable actions. The tendency of an individual who is imperfectly monitored, so they can't perfectly tell like the effort they're putting into or something like that, who's imperfectly monitored, to engage in undesirable behavior. For example, maybe I should use a different color. Workers who shirk when boss is not around. So this is when sometimes you have a worker and the boss can't watch what they're doing all the time, and so sometimes when the boss or the supervisor is not around, these workers tend to engage in behavior that maybe the supervisor wouldn't like. So they just get a little bit lazy, or they talk around or go on their phones rather than kind of doing their jobs or whatever it would be. And so what this is going to do is it's going to create a principal, what we might call a principal agent problem. Principal agent problem. So the agent here is going to be would be like the worker, so the person who's engaging in these actions or who's performing a task. Person who is performing the task on someone else's behalf. So, example, a worker. So this would be the worker in our example. And the principal is going to be the person for whom this action is being undertaken. So for example, the boss. Example, let's say supervisor, maybe a nicer word for that. And so it creates this principal agent problem where if this agent can't be perfectly supervised and they can't be watched all the time, then the principal, then they might engage in this kind of undesirable behavior. They might engage in moral hazard, where they might shirk or kind of be lazy instead of doing their job. So let's erase this and kind of continue those thoughts and talk about potential solutions for that. So when the principal cannot perfectly monitor the agent or the agent's behavior, there is a risk. This is why we say hazard. So risk, there's a hazard that the agent may do something undesirable. Do something undesirable, or immoral. So this is why we call it moral hazard. So when this principal can't perfectly monitor the agent, then there's going to be this tendency of the agent to engage in this undesirable behavior. I mean, we see this all the time, right? If you can't monitor someone perfectly, you can't tell exactly how much effort they're putting into something, and they have this, if they can't be watched all the time, then they have this, workers have this tendency to kind of, not work as hard as they would if they were being watched constantly. And so solutions to this, we can think of a couple different solutions. We can think of better monitoring. So I guess that's one solution. If people are engaging in lots of immoral behavior or undesirable behavior, principals could monitor them better. So, so one thing for, let's say, writing tests remotely, they could make you install this these remote proctoring things or something like that. So there could be more remote proctoring. Or there could be, other kind of webcams. So your boss could set up webcams in the work area where they can watch if someone kind of sits on their phone a lot, and maybe that encourages people to engage in less immoral behavior. So that's one of the solutions. I don't know, maybe we should just call it A, better monitoring. Another solution would be delayed payment. This is why we often see like bonuses and things like that, like year-end bonuses or quarterly bonuses and things like that, to try to, encourage people to put the effort, and maybe we can see the fruits of their labor and the fruits of their effort into like sales or productivity or something like that, and then you reward them based on this productivity or the amount of sales they did and stuff like that. So we can bonuses at end of the year, after they get to see, how much effort you put into it through your sales numbers or through whatever. They could also have increased penalties. For shirking. So, for instance, again, the delayed payment, you could just, they don't get any bonus or something like that when it's clear that they were shirking throughout the year or different times of the year. All right, so that's the first of these two these two categories of asymmetric information. So this was about moral hazard, these hidden actions. Now we can turn our attention to hidden characteristics, which we're going to cover through a concept called adverse selection.